I don't know how someone like that ends up running things. I just don't understand how an imbecile who probably got this job because of luck making these decisions. They're all stupid ideas. These people.
You're not muted, Tiffany. We can hear you.
Tiffany M. Hayes sat in her home office that Monday morning in May 2020, coffee in hand, staring at her laptop screen as faces began popping up in the Zoom grid. She had no idea that in exactly 17 minutes, her entire life would explode. Not from a car accident, not from a health crisis, but from 43 seconds of words she thought nobody could hear. Words that would cost her $320,000 a year, her reputation, and her entire career in tech. Words about her CEO that were so ugly, so filled with racial hate, that once they left her mouth, there was no taking them back. Before we dive into what happened that day, I want to ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Drop your country or city in the comments. And if you're not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button now. This story gets intense, and you don't want to miss what happens next. Trust me. Tiffany worked for Tech Vision Solutions, a software company based in Austin, Texas, with about 340 employees. The company made data analytics tools for hospitals and medical centers. Nothing glamorous, but the money was excellent. Tiffany had been there for 4 years as a senior software architect. Her salary was $298,000 per year, plus bonuses that usually pushed her total compensation past $320,000. She lived in a nice neighborhood in Westlake Hills, drove a Range Rover, and had recently bought a vacation home in Aspen. By most standards, she had made it. She was successful, comfortable, set. But Tiffany had a problem that had been eating at her for 8 months. In September 2019, the company promoted a new CEO. His name was Jamal Park, and he was the first black man to lead Tech Vision Solutions in its 23-year history. Jamal came from a competitor, brought in by the board of directors to help the company expand into new markets. He had an MBA from Stanford, 15 years of experience in healthcare technology, and had grown his previous company's revenue significantly over 5 years. On paper, Jamal was the perfect choice. But Tiffany didn't see it that way. From day one, Tiffany questioned every decision Jamal made. When Jamal reorganized the engineering teams, Tiffany complained to her coworkers. When Jamal pushed for a new client in the pharmaceutical sector, Tiffany said it was a waste of time. When Jamal presented the company's vision for 2020 at the annual meeting, Tiffany sat in the back with her arms crossed, rolling her eyes. The thing is, Tiffany never said the quiet part out loud. She kept her deepest thoughts to herself. She smiled in meetings, she nodded when Jamal spoke, she played the part of the professional employee until that Monday in May. The pandemic had changed everything about how companies operated. Tech Vision Solutions, like millions of other businesses, sent everyone home in March 2020. The office building sat empty. All meetings moved to Zoom. The company had to figure out how to function entirely online. Jamal scheduled a company-wide meeting for May 11th at 10 a.m. Central Time. The purpose was to discuss how the pandemic was affecting their clients and what adjustments they needed to make. These all-hands meetings happen once a month, but this one felt more important. Hospitals were overwhelmed, their software was being used in crisis conditions, the team needed direction. The company had a policy of recording these large meetings. They would post the recording on the internal server so employees could watch later if they missed it or needed to reference something. This was standard practice. Everyone knew the meetings were recorded. Everyone. Tiffany woke up that Monday morning already irritated. She had seen an email from Jamal the night before about new reporting requirements, more paperwork, more check-ins. Tiffany felt like Jamal was micromanaging, and she was tired of it. She got her coffee, opened her laptop, and clicked the Zoom link at 9:58 a.m. Her video was off. She always kept her video off during large meetings, less pressure to look engaged. By 10:02 a.m., about 290 people had joined the call. Jamal's face appeared in the main screen as he started speaking. He welcomed everyone, asked how people were holding up during the lockdown, and began going through the agenda. Tiffany was half listening. She had her phone next to her, scrolling through news articles. This was typical for her during these meetings. She felt like they were a waste of time. Around 10:14 a.m., Jamal started talking about a new initiative. The company was going to partner with 3 community health centers in underserved neighborhoods to provide their software for free for 6 months. It was partly a goodwill gesture during the crisis, partly a way to get feedback from different types of users. Tiffany's frustration boiled over. She had complained to a coworker named Annabelle about Jamal many times over the past months. Annabelle worked on Tiffany's team and shared an office with her before the pandemic. They had become friends, or at least Tiffany thought they had. They'd grab lunch and talk about work drama. Tiffany saw that Annabelle was on the Zoom call. She decided to call her on her cell phone. She wanted to vent about what Jamal was saying. She wanted someone to agree with her that this free partnership idea was stupid. She picked up her phone and called Annabelle. But here's what Tiffany didn't realize. When she called Annabelle, she didn't mute herself on Zoom first. Annabelle's phone rang. She was sitting at her home desk watching the meeting. She saw Tiffany's name on her phone and felt confused. Why was Tiffany calling during the meeting? She let it go to voicemail. Tiffany assumed Annabelle couldn't answer because she was busy, so Tiffany did something incredibly reckless. She started talking out loud to herself in her home office while unmuted on a Zoom call with 290 people. "This is absolutely ridiculous," Tiffany said. Her voice came through every single person's computer speakers. People on the call immediately noticed. You could see it happening in real time. Some people's faces changed, eyes went wide. A few people scrambled for their mice. Someone typed in the chat, "Tiffany, you're not muted." But Tiffany wasn't looking at the chat. She was looking at her phone, frustrated that Annabelle didn't answer. Quick question for you watching. Have you ever had an embarrassing unmute moment on a video call? Nothing like this, probably, but drop a yes in the comments if you've ever said something you shouldn't have. Tiffany kept going. "I mean, seriously, who does he think he is?" Tiffany's voice continued. "This whole free program thing is just him trying to look good. It's not even a smart business move." More people started typing in the chat now, multiple messages. "Tiffany, your mic is on. You're not muted. Tiffany." Jamal stopped. Tiffany M. Hayes had built what most people would call a dream life. The sprawling home in Westlake Hills with its infinity pool overlooking the Austin skyline, the Range Rover in the driveway that she'd paid cash for, the Aspen vacation home she'd closed on just 3 months before the pandemic hit, all of it funded by a compensation package that made her one of the highest-paid software architects in Texas. $298,000 base salary, plus performance bonuses that routinely pushed her total to $320,000 or more. She had earned it, or at least that's what she told herself. 4 years at Tech Vision Solutions, building the data architecture that hospitals across the country depended on. Late nights debugging code, weekend calls fixing critical issues. She had put in the work, climbed the ladder, and secured her position in the upper echelon of tech workers who never had to worry about money again. But for the past 8 months, Tiffany had felt something gnawing at her, a resentment that started small and grew with each passing week. It began in September 2019 when the board announced their choice for the new CEO, Jamal Park, brought in from a competitor to modernize the company and expand into new markets. The press release praised his Stanford MBA, his 15 years of healthcare tech experience, his track record of revenue growth. Tiffany had stood in the break room reading that announcement on her phone, her jaw clenched. She didn't say anything out loud, but the thought was clear in her mind. This was political. This was the board checking boxes. This had nothing to do with merit. From that day forward, every decision Jamal made felt wrong to her. The team reorganization that moved her favorite colleagues to different divisions, the pharmaceutical sector push that she thought was premature, the vision presentation at the annual meeting where he talked about inclusive innovation and community impact, buzzwords that made Tiffany's eyes roll so hard she thought they might stick. But Tiffany was smart enough to keep her mouth shut. She smiled in meetings, she delivered her projects on time. She played the game because the paycheck was too good to risk. Until that Monday morning in May. She woke up already annoyed. Another email from Jamal had come through Sunday night. New reporting requirements, more bureaucracy, more of what she considered his micromanaging style. She made her coffee stronger than usual, opened her laptop in her home office, and pulled up the Zoom link for the 10 a.m. all-hands meeting. Her video camera stayed off. It always did for these meetings. Less pressure to fake engagement. She had 17 minutes before her entire life would implode. But Tiffany M. Hayes, sitting in her expensive home office in her expensive house, had no idea what was about to happen. At 10:02 a.m., Jamal Park's face filled the main screen of the Zoom call. 290 employees were logged in, their thumbnail boxes creating a digital mosaic across Tiffany's monitor. She barely glanced at them. Her attention was on her phone, scrolling through Twitter, half listening to Jamal's opening remarks. "Good morning, everyone. I hope you and your families are staying safe during these challenging times." His voice was calm, measured,
professional. Tiffany hated how polished he always sounded, how prepared, how he'd never seemed to stumble over his words or lose his train of thought. It made her angrier somehow, as if his competence was a personal affront. Jamal moved through the agenda with the efficiency of someone who'd run these meetings dozens of times before. He covered the pandemic's impact on their hospital clients, the surge in demand for their data analytics tools, the strain on their support teams, the technical challenges of scaling their infrastructure to handle the increased load. He acknowledged the engineering team's late nights. He thanked the customer success division for managing the crisis communications. He praised the sales team for closing 3 new contracts despite the economic uncertainty. People were typing in the chat, supportive comments, grateful emojis. Thank you, Jamal. Appreciate the leadership. Great update. Tiffany felt her jaw tighten. She glanced at the chat feed and felt a wave of disgust. Everyone was eating this up. Everyone loved him. She didn't understand it, or maybe she understood it perfectly, and that's what made her so angry. Jamal transitioned to the next topic, quarterly results. Revenue was up 12% year over year despite the pandemic. Client retention was at 94%. The company was not only surviving, it was thriving. The board was pleased, investors were confident. Jamal had delivered exactly what he'd been hired to do. Now, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for the past few weeks. As a company that serves healthcare institutions, we have a responsibility to think beyond our bottom line. We have an opportunity to make a real difference during this crisis. Tiffany's attention snapped back to the screen. She could already sense where this was going, and she didn't like it. We're going to partner with 3 community health centers in underserved neighborhoods here in Texas. We'll provide our software platform completely free of charge for 6 months. These centers are overwhelmed right now. They're treating populations that have been hit hardest by COVID, and they don't have access to the kind of data tools that larger hospitals take for granted. Tiffany felt her blood pressure rising. Here we go, she thought, another one of his social justice pet projects. This isn't just charity, this is also an opportunity for us to gather feedback from a different user base, to understand how our tools perform in resource-constrained environments, and to build relationships that could lead to long-term partnerships. Tiffany couldn't take it anymore. She needed to vent. She needed someone to tell her she wasn't crazy for thinking this was ridiculous. She picked up her phone and dialed Annabelle. Tiffany's eyes flicked to the Zoom interface. Her video was already off, had been since she joined the call. She saw the little microphone icon in the bottom left corner of her screen. In her mind, she was certain she had muted herself when she first logged in. She always muted herself during these big meetings, always. She glanced at the participant list. 290 names. Everyone focused on Jamal, listening to him talk about community partnerships in underserved populations and making a difference. The chat was filling up with more supportive comments, heart emojis, applause emojis. It made her sick. She scrolled through her recent calls and found Annabelle's number. Annabelle would understand. Annabelle had listened to her complaints before, over lunch in the break room, during coffee runs, in whispered conversations by the water cooler back when they actually went to an office. Annabelle knew how Tiffany felt about Jamal. She would agree that this community health center initiative was just performative nonsense. Tiffany hit the call button and brought the phone to her ear. She could still hear Jamal talking through her laptop speakers about partnership timelines and implementation phases. She wasn't paying attention anymore. She was waiting for Annabelle to pick up. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. On the other side of Austin, Annabelle Martinez sat at her dining room table turned home office, watching Jamal's presentation. Her phone buzzed on the table next to her laptop. She saw Tiffany's name on the screen, and her face immediately registered confusion. Why was Tiffany calling during the all-hands meeting? Was something wrong? Was there an emergency? She looked back at her Zoom screen. Tiffany's thumbnail box showed her video was off, as usual. Annabelle hesitated, then made a decision. Whatever Tiffany wanted could wait. The meeting was important. She let the call go to voicemail. Back in her home office, Tiffany heard the call go to voicemail and felt a flash of annoyance. Of course Annabelle didn't answer. She was probably trying to look like the perfect employee, paying attention to every word Jamal said. Fine, whatever. But Tiffany's frustration had reached a boiling point. She needed to say something. She needed to let it out. She was alone in her home office, after all. Nobody could hear her. The meeting was on her laptop speakers, but her microphone was muted. She was certain of it. So Tiffany M. Hayes, sitting in her $2 million home with her $320,000 salary and her carefully constructed professional reputation, made a decision that would destroy everything. She started talking out loud. "This is absolutely ridiculous," Tiffany said to her empty office. But her office wasn't empty. Not really. Her voice transmitted through her laptop microphone, through the Zoom servers, and into the speakers of 290 people across the company. She wasn't muted at all. Annabelle's phone rang, but she didn't answer. She was watching the meeting, confused about why Tiffany would be calling right now. She let it go to voicemail. Tiffany, still unmuted on the Zoom call with 290 people, assumed Annabelle was just busy. So she did something that would haunt her for the rest of her life. She started talking out loud to herself, venting her frustration into the void of her home office. Except it wasn't a void. Every word was broadcasting through 290 computer speakers across the country. "This is absolutely ridiculous," Tiffany said, her voice dripping with contempt. "How did he even get this job? Oh, right, because the board needed their diversity hire to check a box." The chat window erupted immediately. "Tiffany, you're not muted. Tiffany, your mic is on. Oh my God." But Tiffany wasn't looking at the chat. She was staring at her phone, irritated that Annabelle hadn't picked up. And then she kept talking. "I mean, seriously, we're supposed to pretend like this affirmative action CEO knows what he's doing, giving away our software for free to some ghetto clinics? This is exactly the kind of bleeding heart nonsense you get when you hire someone who got their job because of the color of their skin instead of actual qualifications." Faces in the Zoom grid were frozen in shock, mouths open, eyes wide. Some people had their hands over their mouths, others were frantically typing. The chat was moving so fast now it was impossible to read individual messages. Tiffany's voice continued, oblivious, venomous. "And of course, everyone's kissing his ass in the chat like he's some kind of genius. Please, this..." And then she said it, the word, the full slur, clearly, unmistakably, with absolute contempt in her voice. For 3 full seconds, there was complete silence on the call, except for Tiffany's breathing. No one typed, no one moved. The recording captured it all in perfect, high-fidelity audio. Jamal Park's face remained perfectly still on the main screen. His expression didn't change. His eyes didn't blink. But everyone watching could see the micro-adjustment in his jaw, the slight tension in his shoulders. He was a man who had heard that word before, who had learned long ago not to react visibly, who had trained himself to maintain composure even when being degraded in front of 300 people. The chat erupted. "What the f***? Did she just... someone kick her out? This is being recorded. Oh my God. I'm literally shaking. Get her off this call." Tiffany finally noticed something was wrong. She looked up at her screen and saw the chat moving at lightning speed, saw faces in the grid staring directly at their cameras, staring at her thumbnail, expressions of absolute horror. Her eyes drifted to her microphone icon. It wasn't muted. It had never been muted. The blood drained from Tiffany's face as the realization hit her like a freight train. Everything she had just said, every word, every slur, every piece of racist venom had been broadcast to 290 people. And it had all been recorded. Tiffany's hand shot to her mouse, fumbling to find the mute button that should have been pressed 20 seconds ago. Her face had gone from its normal color to sheet white in the span of a heartbeat. She could see her own thumbnail in the gallery view, could see the frozen horror on her own face reflected back at her. The chat continued scrolling, hundreds of messages now. "Get her out. Fire her now. I can't believe what I just heard. This is disgusting. Jamal, I'm so sorry. We need to end this call." Jamal Park finally moved. He leaned slightly forward toward his camera, and when he spoke, his voice was calm, controlled, and absolutely devastating in its quiet authority. "Tiffany." He said her name like a period at the end of a sentence. "I think you've said enough." The simplicity of the statement made it worse somehow. No yelling, no visible anger. Just a man who had maintained his dignity while being racially degraded in front of his entire company, now exercising the only power he had in this moment to end her participation. "This meeting is concluded," Jamal continued, his face still eerily composed. "I'll follow up with everyone later today. Thank you for your time." The screen went black. 290 people were suddenly staring at "this meeting has ended" messages on their screens. Tiffany sat in her home office, alone, her hands shaking uncontrollably. Her email notification dinged, then again, then 3 times in rapid succession. The first email was from Zoom, the automated message confirming that the meeting recording was being processed and would be available shortly. The second was from her coworker Miranda. "Tiffany, what the F?" The third email made her stomach drop through the floor. The subject line read, "Urgent, immediate meeting required." It was from Jessica Chen, the VP of Human Resources. "Tiffany, please join this private Zoom link immediately. Do not delay." Below the message was a link and a meeting password. The email had been sent at 10:17 a.m., less than 2 minutes after Jamal had ended the all-hands meeting. Her phone started ringing. It was a number she didn't recognize with an Austin area code. She didn't answer. It went to voicemail. Immediately, it started ringing again. Same number. 3 more emails arrived in her inbox. One from her direct manager, "Call me now." One from the chief technology officer, "Tiffany, you need to respond to HR immediately." And another from Jessica Chen with the subject line in all caps, "Second notice, join meeting now or face immediate termination." Tiffany's entire body was trembling. She knew exactly what was happening. She knew exactly where this was going. 43 seconds of words had just destroyed everything. Her $320,000 salary, her reputation, her career, her life. All of it was about to disappear because she forgot to click a button. She clicked the Zoom link. The Zoom window opened. 3 faces stared back at her in individual camera feeds. Jessica Chen from HR, stone-faced and professional. David Morrison, the chief technology officer, looking like he'd aged 5 years in the past 10 minutes. And someone Tiffany didn't recognize. A woman in her 50s wearing a blazer, her background showing what looked like a law office. "Tiffany A's," Jessica began without preamble. "This is attorney Sarah Feldman from our external counsel. She's joining us as a witness to these proceedings." Tiffany's mouth dried. "Jessica, I can explain." "You will not speak until I'm finished," Jessica cut her off, her voice sharp as glass. "At approximately 10:15 a.m. today, during a company-wide meeting attended by 290 employees and recorded per company policy, you made explicitly racist remarks about CEO Jamal Park, including the use of a racial slur. This conduct violates Section 4.2 of your employment agreement, the company's code of conduct, and the morality clause outlined in Section 8.7 of your contract." "Wait, no, I think someone hacked," Tiffany started desperately. "Ms. Hayes, we have reviewed the audio and video recording. Your voice is clearly identifiable. The remarks came from your account. We have confirmed through IT that there was no unauthorized access to your computer or Zoom account. Do you dispute that the voice on the recording is yours?" Her mind raced. She was drowning, and she knew it. I think there might have been an audio glitch or something. Maybe it picked up something from another—" "Tiffany, stop." David Morrison spoke for the first time, his voice heavy with disgust. "I've worked with you for 4 years. That was your voice. We all know it was your voice. Don't insult our intelligence. Effective immediately, your employment with Tech Vision Solutions is terminated for cause. This means 0 severance, 0 payout of unused PTO, and immediate revocation of all system access, company equipment, and benefits. You are required to return your laptop, security badge, and any company materials within 48 hours. A termination letter and final paycheck for hours worked through today will be sent to your address on file." "You can't do this," Tiffany's voice cracked. "I have a mortgage. I have—" "This call is concluded," Jessica said. "Your access has been terminated. Goodbye, Miss Hayes." The screen went black. 5 minutes. That's all it took to end a $320,000 career. Tiffany sat staring at the blank Zoom screen for a full minute after the call ended. Her laptop screen dimmed, then went dark from inactivity. She didn't move to wake it up. She just sat there, numb, trying to process what had just happened. Then reality hit like a sledgehammer. She grabbed her phone and pulled up her text messages. She found Annabelle's name and typed frantically, "Annabelle, please call me. I need to explain what happened. It's not what it sounded like. Please." The message showed as delivered, then 3 seconds later it turned green instead of blue. iMessage had switched to SMS. Annabelle had blocked her. Tiffany's hands shook as she tried Miranda next. "Miranda, I know what you heard, but there's context you don't understand. Can we please talk?" The message wouldn't send at all. Blocked. She scrolled through her contacts, trying coworker after coworker. James from the engineering team, Sarah from QA, Kevin who sat 2 desks away from her in the old office. Every single message either failed to send or was immediately marked as undeliverable. They had all blocked her, every single one of them. In less than an hour, Tiffany Hayes had become a digital ghost, erased from the company's systems, blocked by every colleague. Her Slack account was deactivated. She tried to log in and got an error message. Her work email bounced back when she tried to send herself a test message. Her LinkedIn profile was still up, but 3 connection requests she'd sent last week were now showing as withdrawn. People were already disconnecting from her professional network. She opened Twitter, something she almost never did on her personal account, and searched Tech Vision Solutions. Her stomach dropped. The story was already out there. Not the recording itself, at least not yet, but the news was spreading through tech industry circles. Senior architect fired after racist tirade during Zoom meeting. Tech worker loses $320,000 job after slur caught on recording. The tweets were vague on details, but the message was clear. Someone at Tech Vision had done something unforgivable and been immediately terminated. Tiffany set her phone down and looked around her home office. The expensive desk she'd bought when she got her last promotion, the ergonomic chair that cost $1,200, the framed photograph of her standing in front of her Aspen vacation home, smiling, successful, untouchable. 43 seconds. That's all it took. 43 seconds of words she thought nobody could hear. 43 seconds captured in perfect high-definition audio on a recording that would exist forever. 43 seconds that revealed exactly who she was when she thought no one was listening. Her $320,000 salary was gone. Her reputation in the tech industry was destroyed. Her colleagues had erased her from their lives before she'd even finished her termination call. The career she'd spent years building, the professional network she'd carefully cultivated, the future she'd imagined for herself, all of it had disintegrated in less time than it takes to brew a cup of coffee. Tiffany M. Hayes had become exactly what she deserved to be: unemployed, unemployable, and completely alone. The mortgage payment on her Westlake Hills home was due in 3 weeks. The Range Rover lease was $1,800 a month. The Aspen property had a monthly payment she couldn't cover without her salary. And somewhere in Austin, Jamal Park was leading a company forward, dignified and professional, despite having been degraded in front of 290 people by an employee who never thought there would be consequences. 43 seconds changed everything, and there was no taking it back. Did you find this story as shocking as I did? Would you like to see more real stories about workplace drama, instant karma, and people facing the consequences of their actions? These things happen every day and they need to be talked about. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about this case. Do you think the termination was fair, or should there have been a different outcome? And if you want to stay updated on stories like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what happens when people forget the world is watching. Subscribe now, and I'll see you in the next one.